apparently Miss Maryland was not an original Miss. Well, they have rules. Actually, these rules were put in place by Donald Trump at Miss USA. He actually, when he owned the pageant, allowed transgenders to compete because he's a capitalist. And he probably said, okay, great. You want to pay? You have to actually pay to compete in Miss USA. To win a state competition, you pay an entry fee. Anybody can enter as long as you pay the fee. Different than Miss America, which is a scholarship program. And back in my day, which is going back a bit, you never had to pay to enter. I think you might have a small fee at this point, but you never paid to enter. The way it works, and your local competition, which would qualify you for the state competition, right? But now they have just the Miss Maryland competition, and they can have thousands of people. It's whoever is willing to pay. That's the way it's been. And now, of course, the Miss Universe system is celebrating its wokeness in ways that we've never quite seen before. And contestants are kind of mad about this one winning the thing in Maryland, because this particular person, as I said, is not the original Miss. Let's go to the tape.
It's thinking about it now give me goosebumps because it's been so long. Well, first, for a married woman to be able to compete in 67 years. Then on top of that, just being the first trans woman. That's huge. We never had that in Maryland. To be the first Miss Maryland USA that is representing all of these aspects of what it means to be beautifully confident. It means everything to me, and I don't take it lightly.
Okay. Well, apparently now the people that competed with her, women are like, wait a second, we didn't know that this was a transgender competing. So there are some contestants that are quite upset. And apparently I'm told that they didn't actually have to dress in the same or undress in the same room, but still they're upset. I guess I have this question. Are they all being used? Every single one of them? I mean, all of them. The women that are competing in the pageant and also the transgenders that are competing in the pageant. Because it seems to me that someone is making a mockery out of everything. Right? Why would anybody, a transgender, even want to do that? Why would a transgender? I would just say that. Like, why would you, if you're Leah Thomas, why do you so badly need to win the trophy? Why do you, whoever this person's name is, need to be Miss Maryland? Why do you want to take that from somebody who was born female? Why is that so important? I mean, it kind of just seems a little bit, at least as far as Leah Thomas goes, mean-spirited. And they are being used. I mean, for goodness sakes, the transgender that owns the Miss Universe pageant just was caught on tape saying that trans contestants can never win Miss Universe. Sure, fine at the state level. It's good marketing. Hey, we're woke. We're totally cool. This is a leaked audio tape in which the transgender, again, who owns it, said this is a communication strategy because you understand they can compete, but they cannot win. We just put the policy out there. Social inclusion, as people would say, they cannot win Miss Universe. So I go back to this. Are they being used? I would argue that they are by a political movement. This is, as they say, pure politics. There's a lot of money you see behind this trans activism. It was recently revealed in an NPR report. The Pritzker family out of Chicago, for example, that contributes quite heavily to politics, is heavily involved in this movement. This is the money behind it. I remember as a Bloomberg reporter being told by someone actually who had run the Bloomberg campaign that they saw, the Democrats saw the potential legalization of marijuana as a huge get out the vote trick, so to speak, much like gay marriage. And this was something that they hoped to use to try and motivate more Democrats to come out to the ballot boxes. Well, this is also being used. I mean, oddly, I don't really think it flies with everybody, but it's being used as a quote unquote trick, because how can you not be inclusive, right? You think of it, nobody wants to exclude. Everybody does fundamentally want to be inclusive. And I think most Americans would say, you know, you do you, I do me, and like it's all good. But at some point, when transgenders start taking these scholarships and the trophies away from naturally born women, which they will do, especially in the athletic field, because I hate to break it down, but you know, we don't have to go to Bio 101. There are certain hormones that are present. And so that is just the reality, folks. I'm sorry. In terms of the beauty pageants, I mean, my gosh, I mean, you got to like try and undo all those hormones, right? You got to like get rid of the Adam's apple, get rid of gosh, no, you know, I don't know to what length this particular contestant had actually transitioned. So I won't comment on that, but I imagine that's going to be really traumatic. Is the goal to like really transition and then suddenly take all the beauty queens? I mean, it's a little messed up. Don't you think? But I will say this. I think that the Miss Universe pageant has just secured its spot in history. It's going the way of Bud Light. I'm telling you, I don't think contestants are going to compete in this anymore. Why bother? It's like, get your own lane. Okay. You know what? We got Leah Thomas, the Olympic Committee just told you, go swim in your lane. They have a whole separate lane. Remember, the Europeans like worked pretty hard on that. They came up with the brilliant idea. I'll hand it to them. I don't always give the Europeans credit, but they came up with the idea of, you know what? Actually, I think I did first, but the Europeans picked up on it. Let's have a separate lane. So Leah Thomas is not allowed to compete in the Olympics. I've said the women ought to unionize. You know what? Riley Gaines, she could do this. Unionize those athletes. I guess not that I like unions, but do something, because the women actually have to stand up for themselves. So if you've got somebody who was a naturally born man, who functioned and lived as a man until quite recently, meaning all those male hormones were there for many, many, many years, and you built up all the muscle and whatever else, then guess what? You say, see ya, I'm not going to race. So that means you forfeit it, whatever, but you know, if enough women do this together, their voices will be heard.